to fight. One love, one life for the revolution.
When you're tasked with running a player development program, which is a tough task in itself, and at the same time, it's a brand new franchise within Major League Soccer, United Club Soccer, and you are set with the task of laying those foundations for the future. We're going to find out today from the director of player development from Inter Miami CF to find out what he's been doing, where he's at now, and what it's looking like for 2021. So Darren Powell, please welcome. Thanks for attending. I know you're busy, mate. Thank you for joining us here today on Sport Endeavour, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to having a good chat and talking about football and talking about soccer, the sport we're very passionate about.
We've got a bit of history between us anyway, but we'll touch on that later, mate. So congratulations on the position anyway. It was probably a sought-after position. So in general, right now, Dazza, what's your week look like as the head of that player development program?
No, it's a great job. First and foremost, it's something that I'm very passionate about and have enjoyed. It's a little bit different from what I was doing previously with San Antonio, but very similar in many ways as well. But coming into Miami, the role is really good, and basically what it entails is I get to oversee from our U12 academy all the way through to the USL team, which is our second team that play, obviously in the USL and the reserves for the first team, so to speak. And the crux of what I do is to obviously oversee that player pathway. So every player's individual development, what's the best pathway for them, and the idea being of that professional pathway is to go from maybe a U12 and then go all the way through to the first team. And I oversee the roles of those players from the U12s, as I say, all the way through to the USL. With that in mind, I actually am the assistant coach with the USL team, so I'm on the grass every day with the USL team, and the head coach there is Jason Christ. And then when he's away with the national team, then obviously I assume the roles and responsibilities of the head coach. So a typical week is I'd like for 8 days in that week if I could, but the typical week is most mornings we train with the USL Monday through Friday. In the off season right now we're just going a couple of days a week, so we actually go 3 days a week with that group right now. But typically they'll train in the morning from like 10 till noon. We'll do our prep work in the mornings, so we get here about 8 a.m, 7:30, 8 a.m, do our preparation work with the staff, then obviously go and deliver the session at 10 till noon. Then we'll just reflect on the session and plan for the next day in terms of the overall plan. And then from then I switch gears and go straight into the academy. So we have staff meetings a couple of times a week, where one will be the organizational meeting, and then one will be a kind of a technical / development meeting with the staff. And then meet with each of the coaches during the course of the week. So my day's tied up probably from 1 till around 4 o'clock with meetings within the academy, from group meetings to individual meetings with the staff and the leadership of the group. And then from about 5 o'clock or 4:30, the players are arriving for the academy. So our oldest boys arrive at 4:30. So I often will either help with coaches and I try and do each team bi-weekly, where I get on the grass in the evenings with the teams. And then if I'm not on the grass and helping them coach, I will then obviously just oversee and give feedback and observe the players. So we know all the players within the club and who are on that professional pathway from U12s all the way through. So it becomes very busy. Games at weekend, and it's non-stop. But we tend to not have training on Friday night, so that becomes the more of the time where you can just relax a little bit.
So that's your 8-day week then, Dad?
Pretty much.
You're is the academy that you mentioned with the younger players, obviously right through to the first team, but on that developmental side with right up to the USL, that production line, is it all based at that one facility we just saw up there, Darren?
Yes, no, the facility is fantastic. So
Yeah, it looks it.
Obviously, the club invested very well, and the building's beautiful. So we get to work out of here, and like today, the full national team is actually the residents here for this next 10 days for the current domestic camp. So outside there was the US national team training. So it's a wonderful facility. It's top class. I've got to say probably the best in the country that I've been able to see. But we have 6 grass fields, perfectly manicured, and the groundsman keeps them immaculate. They feel like carpet, with any amount of rain. That they're amazing. We have 1 turf field, and then we have a building that houses, the first team and the USL team, with a full basically restaurant in the building. Your typical media rooms, video rooms, all within in here, and then obviously everyone's offices. So the other side of me here is obviously the academy staff start to come in, between 1 and 2. So, and then they fill up the 16 desks outside. So we have a big staff, and then the other side of this building is the first team. The temporary stadium, which is 20,000 seats, and it's first class. It's a first class building where the first team have been playing this year. Unfortunately, we've only been able to share it with a few of our fans. But when this building gets filled and we have a full capacity in that stadium, I can only imagine the noise and how excited everyone will be.
I think you've got the fan base there as well, haven't you, to go and fill that, and super excited, Darren, right?
Yeah, I think the events we've had and they've sold out. I know there was only a small amount of tickets for the last 2 games that were available to the public, and they sold out pretty quickly. And to be fair, they were very loud and very boisterous, and it was great to see them celebrate. Obviously, the first team advanced into the playoffs this year, and they were very loud in that moment. So when it's 10 times more, I can't imagine that noise.
What, because you're dealing with, as you say, U12s right through to, I suppose, developmental squad pressing on to the first team.
Yeah, that transitional phase from an academy player to being a pro player is right a lot of the time, for sure.
Have you set yourself any personal targets there, Darren, for yourself and your staff, for that developmental ladder going right through to those super important ages of 15 to 18, mate?
Yeah, so really, what we've done is we want to make sure, and it's coming from directly from ownership. This club is going to be based for South Florida players, so we're not out recruiting across the country. We're not looking to bring kids in for residency programs. So we really want to focus on the local community, and then obviously not only improve our teams and obviously improve our processes, but we want to make a big footprint in the South Florida area where people can be extremely proud of their professional team, but then also have access through a variety of different programs. But we want to make sure that we're just focused on the South Florida players. So the players that then obviously come into the building and get onto those pathways, they're going to have teammates, they're going to have friends.
Right.
Throughout their process and then within their lives. And so hopefully it just drives the quality of soccer in the local area up, not only at the professional level, but all the levels below. So, then the community of South Florida can be very proud of all its soccer programs. Obviously, ownership wants to have players from South Florida in the first team. Obviously David Beckham's one of their owners, and was a part of the class of '92. So I mean, there's some the undertones of trying to get players through locally is massively important, and it's going to be part of this club's DNA. In year 1, we're probably very excited that we've got players that have done really well at the USL level from the ages of 15. We put players out there, and that's part of our, part of what we want to do is develop those young players. So, is there any specific goals? No, but some general ones are to obviously make sure we incorporate our Florida players at the right times in the future. And that's what our daily goal is within the staff, and that's what we're all working towards.
So was that sort of set in place from upstairs as the philosophy of doing that? You mentioned Bex, and which is obviously the Neville boys and Scalzi, or even Nottingham Forest way back where we had Gary Birtles, mate. That homegrown talent. Was that foundation brought in from the off, or was it discussed during the process?
From day one. I mean, obviously,
Brilliant.
I arrived last year in January, so the academy was up and running. But the academy was obviously in place before the first team, so they started in August 2019, and I joined in January 2020. So. It was straight from the off. It's something that's very important, something that we believe in. Obviously, the facility, represents that, because there is 6 grass fields, 2 for the first team, and then 4 that the academy are using. So it was from day one, and something that this ownership, it takes a lot of pride in, and is expecting results and expecting players to come through. And South Florida, and Miami in particular, is lots of talent. And it's a matter of now having those guys now having a clear pathway to represent their hometown team, which is in the highest league professionally in this country.
I just in our pre-broadcast, we had a bit of a chat. Nothing set in stone, mate. But you did mention a couple of really young boys that have made that progression real quick. I think you mentioned a 15-year-old coming in there and stepping up to play. Do you want to enlighten us on that one, Darren?
Yeah, no, I think that's what's been really, really good about this year. We've, with the bubbles that both leagues, the USL and the MLS, have set. They didn't allow as much fluctuation between the teams. So the MLS players just stayed on the MLS roster for a majority of the year. So we were able to blood some young players, and they got the opportunity. And what we saw was they really, really made the most of that opportunity. So, for example, we have Felipe Valencia, and the young man there, shown now, Edison Ascona. He's 16 years old. He came in and played from the first game, and I believe he played actually every match this year. So he got some really valuable minutes, and he was playing U17 games in the Generation Adidas Cup in February.
Right.
Played well, and we gave him some opportunities training pre-COVID. And then once COVID hit, we just promoted him full-time to the USL team, and he took advantage and has played in every single competitive match this year. Then Felipe Valencia got an opportunity at 15, and then became the youngest goal scorer in league history.
Brilliant.
So that was something that everyone's very proud of, and he scored the winning goal against North Texas, who were the previous champion. So he's got a bright future ahead of him, as long as he obviously continues to grow as a player and he's a very good listener and a very quick learner. So I think that bodes well for his future. We're just excited to see how he will progress over the next couple of years.
That just sits on me working in some other academies. That the talent is out there on the doorstep where you are, Darren, and it's finding it, getting it, and nurturing it. That's got to be priceless. You've just mentioned those 2 boys there. That's got to be priceless for you to see that happen, Darren.
100%, and I think that you're always challenging those boys, and you want to make sure that they keep on the right trajectory, because still at 15, 16, you still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And also we had some 18-year-olds that did really well, that are on a good pathway. But again, you still have to navigate the next couple of years and make sure you continue to grow as a player. And I think that's very, very important, and that's something that we'll certainly stress to all these boys. But then the next step to that is the players within the academy can now see it's tangible. I can get there. I can have a real opportunity. And so the challenge I always say to all the players within the academy is, who's next? You know,
Brilliant.
we don't want age to be a barrier. If you're ready, you know, we're going to move you on, and that happens within our teams. You know, you'll start to see it more and more moving forward, where players will be playing in different age groups, where we hope to help them with their development. And you know, obviously, if they do well, then you know they continue to progress, and if not, that's okay. You know, then we can make sure you play in your own age group and get that confidence, and then we go again, because you know nobody has a linear sort of pathway to be in the pros, and not everyone's going to make it, and the journey's different for every player, and we just want to help them along the way. And you know, it's exciting from my perspective. When you know, we had a U14 game a couple of weeks ago where we played 5 U13s, got to start to see how they would do, and they did really well. And so from a staff perspective within the academy, everybody then gets very excited and is very passionate, and we can do that. But as coaches, we have to believe in that, which we do within the academy, and obviously with the USL, by giving them those opportunities. And that's what's really rewarding part of the role, to see players respond and do well, and then also help the players that weren't quite there or weren't quite good enough on that particular day, because that's the sport we're in, and everyone develops at a different rate.
Can you? I've just been asked by our producer. We're going to put the picture up of the facilities, because they're fantastic, and you said they're the best out there. They look great. If our producer can just put that up and just give us a run round, so we've got a pure visual, because the connection of that first team right through your groups there, I'm working there, is absolutely fantastic. It's like one big community, one big football family, right, Darren?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just I can show you around. I'll show you the fields outside the back of my office in momentarily, and then the office in front. So just hold on one sec.
Okay. You know what Anthony's like, mate?
There you go. Let's see if I can do it here. So out the back, obviously my office is here. This is my board where we try and make the magic happen. Okay. Which is all the names of all the kids in the academy.
Terrific.
And then, I'm not going to show you exactly, but those little square boxes with numbers in, the players, what they're playing up, what their training schedule is this week.
That's personal. Leave that one, mate. But yeah.
And then as you go out here, this is the office view.
Oh, that's terrific.
And they're the two first team fields. Obviously, you see the groundsman on the US national team's just been on there.
Right.
Beyond those two, you'll see 4 grass fields.
Yeah.
And then just to the right, if you can see, sorry, I'm not the most steady camera hand. There might not be a cameraman.
That's brilliant, mate.
There's the turf field.
Yeah.
And then as I turn around here, this is my office, but then out there is where everyone's working. You can see the staff coming in. And then just if you can see right behind the other glass windows there, you can probably see the back of the stadium.
Gotcha.
In that kind of that left of my screen anyway. It might be right of yours, but you can see them there.
Yeah, I can see it, mate. Yeah, brilliant.
So that's just a quick tour there for you.
Thanks very much. And Anthony, I'm not doing that again, mate. Hey, Darren, thanks for doing that, mate. Anthony, Anthony just wanted to see, mate, Let
me just pull this down so you can see me again.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Thanks for doing that, mate. Appreciate it.
Richard, you can see the blue skies, right? You see those?
Yeah. I've got some here in Colorado. It's a bit cold though, mate. Are they on altitude, Daz? Yeah. But hey, talking of blue skies, you're in another state prior to coming over to into Miami. You're at San Antonio for a while, Daz. What was your experience like there? I know you did a fantastic job, mate, there.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I love the experience there. We were part of a really good franchise, and I was part of it on day one. So when I walked into the building in 2016, I was working for the Spurs, the NBA basketball team. The ownership was fantastic. very supportive, and they went and started kind of an adventure on a soccer team, looking to take them to the MLS within sort of a 5-year period when we went in. So we were building a club from scratch, which was a wonderful experience, and I was charged as the technical director and the head coach of the first team. So, day one we had 0 players, 0 staff. So you go into a building where you've got to build a staff, you've got to build an infrastructure for a club, and then you've got to obviously put a team together. And we only had 6 weeks to do so.
Oh.
So that experience was unbelievable. And I always remember day one when I got into the office after it was announced. It was about January 8th or 9th. And I go into the office and I go into this wonderful facility, the ATT Centre, where the NBA Spurs team play. Right. And I walk downstairs and see the whole operation, probably 500 employees that are all geared towards the different franchises they had at the time. They had an ice hockey, women's basketball, as well as the NBA team. Then the president showed me to a room, and so I'm by myself, and I've got my computer, and I walk into the room, and it's a massive boardroom with 2 TVs and a couple of phones, and then he goes, "Off you go." And you kind of think to yourself, well, I better make this plan work now. It's got to work. So, it's like it was a hectic couple of weeks. 8 o'clock mornings to 11 at night, 2 telephones on, getting players in, putting a staff together. But what an experience, and one that I'll never forget. And I'm very grateful and honoured to have had that position. And then 4 years later, we had a good first team. We built an academy there. We'd even give debuts to young players. Ethan Bryant was our first one. We gave a debut. He was 16 years old. Right. I think one of the youngest from an independent USL team. Then he went over to Europe and earned a contract in Belgium. Then Jose Galagos played. We had Leo Torres, and San Antonio continues to use those players now moving forward. So it was a wonderful experience, and one where I was involved with lots of the technical side of the club. And then Tim Holt came in, who was the former president of the USL, and he managed the business side, and we had a wonderful relationship, and we had a great staff. Nick Evans, the academy director, did a wonderful job there. So very proud of what we did there, and I think it will still bear fruits for many years to come with San Antonio. And then this opportunity came, and was able to very much do very similar work. Right. Just on it's a big project because it's within the MLS, and the staff is a little bigger, but then it's just and we're just starting again. So it's it is all a lot of fun, and been very fortunate to work for 2 great organizations.
Did you obviously down in San Antonio, did you bring anything in terms of the man management side of it, the player side management, and sort of drop it down a level into the youth product? Did you bring that with you into Miami, Darren, on that learning process as a coach?
Yeah, I think you always got to be learning as a coach and always growing. So I've been very fortunate with all my roles that I've had, and even when I was in college, I would always coach within the local youth community in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I was always working with 14-year-olds, and my Elon team that made it into the NCAAs. My last Elon team, I had 5 players on that roster that I'd actually coached within Greensboro youth soccer when they were like 10 and 11 years old. So, that was something that I felt immense pride in when we played UCLA in the college. Yeah. I've always been involved, and each place you take, everywhere's different. So each market is different, and there's a different kind of different types of cultures as well. From Greensboro, North Carolina, to Orlando, to San Antonio, now to Miami. So you look at that culture and you try and incorporate the values that you have and what's important, and continue to grow that process and make it better. So I feel like each of the stops has made it better, and we continue to grow and continue to refine what's good, and you take the good bits and you improve upon the pieces that may need a little bit more work. So those processes continue to be refined, and we continue to try and get them better. But I think as a coach, going anywhere, you've always got to be open, and you also got to take care of the strength of the culture in the community that you're in, and then keep improving and making sure that the most important thing is you focus on the players and their development and how to improve them, and some of those things travel with you in each of those communities, and that for me has been a wonderful journey, and certainly grew me as a coach.
Nottingham Forest. I got a Derby shirt behind me, mate. Sorry about that. Nottingham Forest, mate.
Move to the right a little bit if you could.
Do one of those, mate. Yeah. Sorry, I'd pop it up. So, you've gone down the City ground, mate. Was it Powell in your blood? Straight in there, mate, and watching that. The Forest team down the City ground, and the rest is history, mate. What was it like going down there with your dad? Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, that's you talk about great childhood memories. That certainly is, and something that I miss, to be honest, in terms of not being able to do that as much. I've been able to do it a little bit with my son, with Orlando and San Antonio, and now hopefully into Miami once we're allowed the public into the stadiums. But those childhood times, going with my dad, going even with my mum, my brother, to games was immense. And the thing that's really funny about all of this is I went to a friendly actually against Derby. Forest won 2-1, by the way. It was a testimonial game in May, and that was the first game I went to, and I was really young, and it was good. It was just intense, and you just spend your time looking at the fans and the passion that they have for the game. But then the second game I went to was Nottingham Forest Cologne. I don't know if you remember this game.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
And people can watch it on YouTube. You look this game up, Forest versus Cologne, and my dad picked me up at school about an hour earlier, so I thought that was good. But he made us run from all the way from Richmond to the game, and we had a little stool, one of those little stools, because he wanted to get at the front, but I won't be able to stay over the wall, so he got me on this stool. So we run to the game, and we're first in line. So we get there, and the gates don't open till like 6 o'clock for a 7:30 kickoff in those days, and so we're there at like 2:30, and we've got sandwiches, we've got soup, we're having the whole lot, but we're front of the line. The line opened, and I didn't realise we had to run when we got in, so we can get to front. So we got front, centre, right behind the goal in the terracing. But as you know, in those days, like the game starts, the game goes, and all my dad said, Forest are going to win, so I just assumed, I believed him. So it's Forest are going to win, Forest are going to win. And after it felt like 10 minutes, but we were 2-0 down at the City ground, and you're like, you couldn't believe it. And I'm like, I've waited all this time. I'm 6 years old, and I'm crying. I'm like, Forest are losing. What is going on? But then all of a sudden we turned it around, and we ended up going up 3-2. And the emotions of that, and how the crowd is, and the surge, and I'm like hanging onto the fence, and people are pushing you back in, making sure you're in there, and the sway of the crowd, the buzz of that was amazing, and so you just loved it. And then Cologne went to 3-3, so then that all of a sudden you're up here, and then you're down here again, and so on and so forth. So the game was such a roller coaster. Then Forest obviously went on and won the second leg in Germany that we listened to on the radio in those days, jumping around the house, and then obviously won the European Cup, which is now the Champions League, and then repeated it the next year, and was able to go to the game as well in the semi-final against Ajax. So I remember those and recall them vividly, and just at that point you fall in love with the game, and there's no turning back, and that's what you want to do, and you want to be a professional. And the only thing that I was very naive as a 7-year-old was I thought Forest were going to just win the Champions League every year, and I may never see it again.
No, I get it, and I'm probably the only bloke on the planet, mate, that I support Derby and I do support Forest, because I I work for Forest as well. So I mean, I understand those. What you're saying, that you can just smell it, taste it, touch it. Night game, European Cup, when it was a proper European Cup, mate. You lose, you're gone. Evenings, the crowd, you got big teams there. There's nothing like it, Darren. It's just everything goes off that could possibly go off in your brain and your body on those nights, mate.
Yeah, it was amazing, and as I say, I can remember it vividly, and and then obviously you grow up and you continue to watch, and I watched Forest a lot, and then went to Notts County, and now I'm at the point, like you say, I just love watching football. So
yeah,
I remember going back visiting my family, and went to Derby, I'll admit, and watched them play Liverpool, and was cheering Derby that day. So a bit quiet about that.
Good lad. No, I won't. Andy will cut that little bit out for you, mate, and maybe the bit me about being a tricky tree as well. Hey, Dazza, I got to say, we could go on all day, mate. I'm going to say thank you for your time. Fantastic what you're doing there for Inter Miami CF, developing those players, bringing them through the USL. I wish you all the best, mate, on that development. If I'm ever down that way, lock your doors, tell me you're out or anything, and we'll have to grab an orange juice down there. But thank you, Darren. I can't leave you without asking you a quick 5 questions. You probably answered a couple anyway, but I'm going to ask them anyway. Who's your favourite football team, mate?
Great question. I'm going to say Nottingham Forest, but that's the quick answer. But at 16, they let me go from schoolboy forms, and so I was pretty upset. And I went to Notts County on the YT, obviously where we have our common friend Paul Cox.
Yeah.
So I started supporting Notts. So I support Nottingham through and through. I support both teams. But if I'm first support I look for is probably Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I've got an affinity for county as well, So, player as a kid growing up, mate. Who? He's my boy. He's my player, or female, whatever. Who's your player?
I liked a lot of players, but probably the first one I really, really wanted to emulate was Brian Robson at Manchester United. I loved him. He's just the passion, the drive was fantastic. But I also had a really, really soft spot for Glenn Hoddle. When I was younger, really young. Then as time evolves, you get older, Paul Gascoigne and just those super talented players.
Yeah. When you say Robbo and Hoddle, I mean, there's two. There's your two centre midfield players, right?
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Off you go. Win it, give it him. Box to box, spray it about a bit, Glenn. Yeah, that's a great choice, mate. What do you bring as as director of player development? What's the biggest asset that you personally bring to your program currently into Miami, mate?
Great question, but I think it's understanding of the role and what it takes to go on that player pathway. So having those experiences in England, and then when I came to the States. I always look for young players having a clear pathway so they can see where they're going, where they want to go, and then your role is to how they get there. So I think it's just from experiences and working with younger players and having that same sort of dream and drive myself. Didn't quite make it to Nottingham Forest, YT in YTS trainee player at Notts County, and then obviously playing college and professional over here. So I think in the US system, I have lots of experiences that are kind of parallel for all those levels. And that's something that I think is a strength. And so understanding and empathy for each individual player.
What's your favourite food?
Food, I have to say probably filet steak I absolutely love. And then I do enjoy Mexican food as well.
Yeah, fantastic. When I'm down there, mate, I'll treat you.
There you go.
If you let me in there.
To the filet. to the filet. I've got some good steakhouses.
Cheers. Oh, that's brilliant, mate. Last question, mate. If you could change anything in terms of the younger rules of the game, because we're trying to adapt it so it's more, entertaining potentially. If you could add anything into that game, the rules of youth development, would there be anything in there? I don't want to make any suggestions, but would there be anything in there for 7v7, 9v9, moving into 11v11 that you as a coach would like to see happen?
To be honest, I think when we introduce a sport, especially in this country, with really young players, so I'm talking, there's some levels have U5, U6s.
Right.
I think we just have to find a way where we're not just playing with one match ball, so the ball's always in play. So inside, outside, it's always in play. So almost along the lines of either having parents, as soon as the ball's out, the parents just drop it for the little ones, because I think that will engage players and they'll enjoy the game more. Whether it's even little boards around the side, but just get the ball in play, because I've watched many little young games and there's all these stoppages and it just takes too long and it's too complicated. Just throw the ball and let them go and see what happens. So for me, that first introductory phase of the game is don't let the ball ever be out of play. It's always in play. So however you manage that is just drop a ball in. The coach always has one in his hand and drops it, the referee, whoever. But so they're constantly engaged in the game. And that, we've all been to young games, especially that sort of, I'm talking probably 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and the ball's in play, so players just stand around, and it's like you don't want that with our sport. Our sport is continual, it's continuous. So I think when we introduce it, and then in turn those players there's no stoppages, so they've got to go, and that's where the modern game is going. I love it. Whereas there's second actions all the time.
I love it. Everybody out there, Sport in Denver, Richie English, this is Darren Powell's idea. You can change the world. Darren's just done it. Follow it out there. Whether they add it to the rules or not, in whatever, you can actually add it to the rules in your club. That is a fantastic answer. I love it. Brilliant. So we're going to you've just changed the world, mate. And if anybody listens to this, Darren Powell just changed the world in youth product. Okay, and that I'll get you the steak, mate. All right.
There you go.
I'm going to let you go. We're going to shut down. On next week's show, we got Chris Anderson, who's the head honcho for the Stephen Gerrard International Football Academy over in Liverpool. There's another team for you, Darren, that we probably grew up watching and admired most of the time. So we've got Chris on the show next week. Daz, once again, thank you. I cannot let you go without leaving our viewers and followers one final message, and cheers, mate.
No, just look, it's been fun, and from my perspective, thank you for having me. And just, if you're passionate about the game and like the game, just, make sure, as a young player, that you spend as much time with the ball as you possibly can, and continue to improve your skills, because, the game is global and there's players everywhere. So you just have to continually refine and make yourself better. And just find something, within your game that can be an exceptional strength, and keep working on it.
Time to get it on. Heads or tails doesn't matter. We live the game we choose.